What is going on, guys? It is time to look at the man to the right and now the man in the middle, Ashley. I wanted to do a character guide on him because obviously he's very important in the next dungeon. He is also awakening even if you don't use him in the dungeon, so he got all this brand new fancy stuff, so it's about time. And then obviously we'll probably do the man on the left after. This is going to be part of the Knights Chronicles Content Creator program because you need to know how to build this man. Pretty point blank, right? I'd have to say. So since he is an awakening, he does get a third passive, but we're going to go through that later. Let's just look at the initial stuff here. We got the S1. S1 is going to do more damage if they have higher HP, which is good for melting opponents. And as you can see, it does more damage as you level it up. That's just how it works. The S2, one of his mainstays, I'd have to say, Blackened Fighting Spirit. Increases his crit chance and his crit damage for 2 turns, and 100% will apply 5 stacks of Ebon Wound to everybody. You ain't safe. Nobody's safe. This is a unremovable damage over time debuff. As you can see here, it goes up, and you will see that if you max it out, the damage will increase. The buff of the crit damage and the crit chance will increase. Also, it will last longer for 3 turns, which is the duration of the buff, which is great. Nothing happens with the Ebony Wound. I keep saying Ebon. The Ebony Wound, nothing happens with it because obviously that's just how it is. Nothing is just put the debuff on it. And then last but not least, we have the Pitch Black Authority. Inflicts damage equal to 300% of attack to one target. It's a single target nuke, and it has a 70% chance to remove all buffs from the target, and it also has a chance to stun. If you level it up, you will have a 100% chance to remove all the buffs. Not 100% chance to stun, but if it does stun, it goes up to 3 turn stun. That is insane. Now we're going to look at the number 1, the first passive, which is called Ebony Wound, which is funny. 70% chance to apply Ebony Wound, which we already know what that does, for 3 turns when attacking. So regardless of his S2, you have a chance to apply the Ebony Wound every time you attack, counterattack, multi-strike. You will be doing that. And attacking means that it can actually be applied on his S3 as well. Keep that in mind. Now, 70% chance to apply Ebony Wound to the target, and to adjacent enemies when attacking a target with Ebony Wound. So that's how this is supposed to work. You S2, put it on everybody, then your first passive will help spread it to the masses for you. And keep it up, and it stacks up to 10 times, which starts to do a lot of damage. For PvE, he's actually was always known as one of the better PvE characters in the beginning. A lot of people did stop using him because there weren't that many light dungeons in which he would really be useful for, and then you saw him in PvP earlier in the game, but then he kind of fell off when all the new characters came out and they were doing a little bit more than him. His most utilized stuff was the stun, the S3 stun. He puts debuffs, but this is before the burst rune was even out, so there was no burst rune set to increase his damage like that. If I can remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the burst rune set came out later, so then you had a way to boost his damage a little bit higher and make him a serious threat to just melt people, but he was always doing that, to be fair. They also changed his leader skill, which it was, I think, something to do with raising attack or something like that. I don't remember his old one because it's not here anymore, so why talk about it. Increases Dark Allies counterattack chance by 30% when you have him. Now, just for a heads up note, counterattack is probably the worst thing to have in that dungeon, in Parina's dungeon, but we're not going to talk about that. There's a reason why I haven't brought a video about that. I'm trying to be positive, and that dungeon, whew, let's not talk about that dungeon right now. Alright, so secondly is his second passive. Inflicts damage equal to 70% of attack that ignores defense when attacking an enemy that has Ebony Wound. Also increases his chance to multi-strike. Multi-strike is probably his best stat that you want to do, but as you know, dot damage, which is his Ebony Wound, and now you see this passive, the strategic attack passive, you need his attack to be as high as possible. It will make the damage higher, and it'll also make this ignore defense passive go higher. So you want a lot of attack. You're going to need rage, pretty much. And then when you awaken this man to the fullest of extent, he will get a skill 3 that will now be a cone attack, 90% chance to give Vila Phantasm for 2 turns if the caster applies Ebony Wound, is which aka when he's attacking, and also when he S2s as well. Let's look at his awakened state because you gotta include that, duh. Also, just a nice to mention that awakened characters now have this little colorful border around them, which is nice. You'll also notice that Damien has it as well. boom, now we are here in the awakened state. As you can see, if you guys are unfamiliar or you happen to miss my first video, is that now you have the awakening essence, and then you'll be able to give him additional stats, and these do stack on if they have costumes. I think Ashley does have a costume, so you are able to do that. And then the last one is when you'll get the third passive. I'm really hoping that they do this for more characters because it would be exceptional. Another really cool thing about about the awakening is that here you are, you see it in your inventory, you click on it, and that same background is there. So like you get to really like see how cool your character looks, right? I can go to Damien right now. I'm not working on him, and you can still see it's the regular background. It would be nice going forward if they changed the way the backgrounds look depending on each awakened character. Like this is just a generic awakening, but it'd be cool if it had something to do with him, and then Damien had his, because he's the Dark Knight leader, and then Damien is the White Knight leader. So maybe if they would have a difference of them. And this is pretty much what you want to see on him. It's the bare basic build is Rage with Burst, and now that's just pretty much the basic build you want to get on him. If you don't have any burst runes to give him, I would say maybe HP would be okay. Also, you can obviously go with a crit chance as well, so when he does hit, it does damage, but you really want the additional damage on damage over time. Obviously other characters can put dots on the characters as well, so it's not just Ashley that can put them, and eventually his stuff has cooldowns. So there might be times, especially depending on the speed of the enemy, that he won't have time to have a debuff, but the other enemies, your allies will be doing that as well. So as you can see, I'm still working on these. I think I need to get somebody like this. Oof, the 5 slot. Why haven't we? I feel like we've forgotten to talk about the 5 slot, how terrible it is. Definitely need to have this on at least 2 attack subs. But yes, you want to, if you obviously could, oh my god, another auto recur. If you could have triple attack, or maybe some multi-strike is, like I said, it's not that bad. He does have 30%, remember, by itself because of his passive, so keep that in mind. I think the hard cap is 70 unless they deleted that. So multi-strike here, I'm pretty sure you can get multi-strike on 3. So that's kind of like, you don't want to affect where your attack slots can get as much attacks as possible, and you will be a happy camper. Hero talents, we haven't finished this, but let's look at this. So obviously we're gonna want attack on the first one, because attack. Next up, now you could go with bleed, but we all know that you don't necessarily need bleed. He has his own dot, you don't really need this. He does S2 a lot though, so I guess if you want to add more to it, whatever, but most likely you're going to want to go with either of these depending on where you're going to use him. A lot of people currently are going to be using him in this dungeon, so increased damage delta bosses is going to help you. So here we're going to go with, obviously, probably flat out defense. You could go, he is a multi-striker attack, and I do recommend that if they multi-strike you get the burn. And again, but it's just, he already has such a great dot, he has a great damage over time. I don't think you need to get more of it. I think that you should just get some additional defense here, but I can also I can make a decent argument that if you had the burn, it's not the worst thing in the world. He does S1 a lot. So we could see that damage decreasing either in arena or bosses. I do want to go with this one because that dungeon is very hard, and it, obviously you can use him in Christian, you can use him in other dungeons as well. And I think lowering the bosses, he is a good decent arena unit, but again, I think there are better arena units than Ashley, except once you max him out to once you get that third passive, he's going to be really good in arena, because then he'll be stunning 3 targets with his S3. S3, woo, Inglando. And then this one is pretty good because again, it increases his attack, and attack is good, but at the same time, him surviving is more important than him getting nicked by something, and then hopefully this 20% happens. This one is effective all the time, because there are 2 bosses in that dungeon, and there's going to be a lot of bosses in the dungeon. This one is nice because anyone can hit him and then he'll get an attack boost, but I just think that the boss thing is a little bit better. This one is a toss-up, but since you're not running too much crit chance, I do think that getting crit chance here is a little bit better than getting crit damage, because you're going to be focusing on so much attack, then you're not going to have too much crit chance. Now you could actually go crit chance on these 2 slots. I think 1 and 2 have the ability to have crit chance on it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you could have some crit chance because there's no attack that you'll be losing here, but then you sacrifice HP, and again, that's a little bit rough to sacrifice. But if you could get crit chance on these in 1, 2, and then you have enough crit chance that you're comfortable going with maybe crit damage here, which is just the flat out damage. But I do think that even if you have crit chance on 1 and 2, the additional crit chance will increase your ability to crit, and with the amount of attack you're going to be going in, it's going to be better to at least get a crit than hope for a crit, and then it does more damage. Penetration here is a good tech, but it's a better tech when you're fighting against something that's, you know, is going to hit you, and then you're going to want to penetrate the shield. Now, as far as I know, if we're going to that dungeon, Electra does do a lot of damage immunity, but she has to hit you, you have to survive, and then you have to hope that this procs, and then you have to hope to get a turn. And since you're not running counterattack, you're not trying to run as much of it, so it's a little bit of a wishy-washy, but this is guaranteed. Stats are usually better than chance, if that makes any sense. If it's better to increase your character's stats than to go for something that might not happen, if that makes any sense. And then the level 60 is yeah, duh. So yeah, that's Ashley. That is the boy. I'll probably do Damien the following day, just because, you know, to give it some time to breathe. I do think that he is a good character, even without the awakening, but since the awakening is pretty free right now, might as well do it. And he's pretty much a good chance for you to at least work on him, and then eventually you will end up at the spot where he's fully maxed out. I'm personally going to be doing one awakening at a time. I don't see the point of splitting around and doing one and then the other. So yeah, that's going to be me. Oh my god, how can I possibly forget to show off the skills? We are here in 1-1, and this music is popping, baby. Ooh, listen to this. Hold up. This is like completely not guide etiquette, but sounds funky, right? All right, let's look at the S1. This is the Dark Sword skills. Oops, he counterattacked. Stop it! Stop it! Okay. He's gonna kill them all. S2. We'll save the S3 for the boss. Alright guys, finally gonna show you guys the S3 on this poor, pitiful soul. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys are looking forward to Damien. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.